Hey editors, today I'm gonna show you how I used Essential Motion, my free preset pack for Premiere Pro you can get yourself, to enhance a few shots from my short film Yellow Ticket. There are a few spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen the short film yet, you should check it out first. Link in the description, of course. And let me stress the fact that it's a professionally made short film. I wasn't behind the camera, I had a great cinematographer who really knew what he was doing, and we had planned our shot list really well, but still, in the edit, there are a few minor things I did here and there to enhance the overall experience, the overall storytelling of the edit. Let me show you how. And this is the timeline. I will zoom out a little bit. And to be honest, I can't remember which shots exactly I used it for, so we'll use the Find on the Timeline feature to really quickly locate those clips and mark them with a color label so that I can show you exactly what I did on each one of those. To do it, I just press Ctrl plus F or Command plus F. This window appears and we just change the search query to Effects, Contains, and underscore. We could use even underscore, EM, and another underscore to be sure that these are only effects from Essential Motion Pack that we are finding, but I know that I haven't used any other of my presets with underscores on the timeline, so we'll be good this way. And now all I have to do is press Find All, and the clips have been selected. You might not see it yet, but when I zoom in, there are a few clips that are selected, like these over here, and all I have to do right now is add a label color that I haven't used on the timeline yet, and I know that it's red, at least for video clips. I haven't used this color yet, so I pressed it, and now as you can see, those clips are labeled with red color. So let's move to the beginning of the timeline, and we'll go one clip at a time. And as you will see, as we move through those clips, those are not color corrected yet, so it's the timeline before the colorist and sound editor, sound designer did their work as well, so just keep it in mind, okay? So the first shot is actually more than 10 seconds long in duration, right? But I have used Essential Motion only for this initial part, for this beginning. So we shot it on a tripod, but I really wanted, like, you know, to have the shakiness of him carrying the bag and then putting it on the desk, right? That's what happens at the beginning of the film. So I added an Essential Motion effect called Camera Wiggle. And basically what it does, it shakes the camera very gently, and as you will see, there are like easy ins, easy outs, so that it feels quite naturally, the movement of the camera. And when I turn it off, you can see that, like, you know, the position changes basically, right? So really, when we go through the shot and those initial 4 seconds, we can see, like, you know, the movement, the shakiness of those peaks of light that are coming through, you know, the entrance of the bag. And this is the next shot. It's of our character Jeff. And once again, on this one, I'm using Camera Wiggle. And the reason for that one is a little bit different. So it's a reaction shot, okay? He doesn't say anything in this shot. It's just his reaction, you know, to what the teacher is doing, right? The problem is that I didn't have enough reaction shots. You know, it's on me, kind of my mistake on set. I think I should have cared more about reaction shots. Lesson learned for sure. But what happened is that in the edit, I found myself with the shot that was handheld shot, another handheld shot just after this one, and this shot was actually taken from a tripod. So I needed to add some movement to it to make it feel like it belongs there. So as you can see, there aren't many keyframes here. As I extended, there are like keyframes at the beginning and at the end. Basically what I did is that I took a portion of this preset and dragged those keyframes apart to make the movement not so shaky, like the camera wasn't really, like, you know, shaking in every direction. And you could say that I could just basically pan, you know, with position or something like that, but it wouldn't give this natural feeling. Because over here, like, both position and scale changes, and it changes with very slight curvature motion, so because of that it feels much more natural than what I would have accomplished just basically keyframing position, okay? That's the reason for that. And the next two shots, once again, use the Camera Wiggle, customized a little bit, so basically we've stretched out keyframes. But this time the reasoning behind this decision in the edit was a little bit different. Just before those 3 reaction shots over here, we have static shots. So those were shot from a tripod, no movement at all. But one of those reaction shots was from a handheld camera. And because of that, it would feel very off if those were static shots, right? So I introduced this motion to basically make them consistent. And once again, those are followed by a static shot that actually changes to the panning and tilting shot over here. Okay, and the next shot, this one, and once again, camera wiggle. Yeah, I'm getting boring. Like, come on, Peter, don't you use other Essential Motion presets? Normally I do, and I honestly use those presets on every edit that I do. But in case of this short film, most of the zooming in and stuff like that were already taken care of in the production. But this shot was quite complicated. Like, the camera was basically over his head. So because of that, it had to be done with a still camera, not a moving one. But just before this shot, there is like a shift of motion. So the camera is quite static over here, and then it moves quite abruptly. And because of that, this shot couldn't be static. So I introduced this time more movement. As you can see, there are more keyframes over here to make it feel continuous with the previous shot, basically. This is the next shot. And once again, it's a reaction shot, very similar situation. And yes, wiggle, once again, a little bit more keyframes. And by the way, you can see, because I selected wiggle, the effect, you can see what the camera is doing. So this is the path the camera is basically moving throughout this very brief moment reaction shot, right? And it gives this impression of a handheld shot, even though it was shot on a tripod. Okay, and the next shot is kind of a POV shot, and even though it says camera wiggle, this is actually a merge of two effects, both camera wiggle and zoom in preset. But I didn't want to stack them on top of each other, because sometimes stacking a few transform effects introduces jarriness. Is that the word? I think it is, right? So basically the movement isn't smooth, and because of that, I moved this scaling effect that would be normally done with a zoom in preset from Essential Motion to the camera wiggle effect. So it zooms quite a lot. It moves from 104%. And by the way, it doesn't start from 100 because there is already wiggle going on from the very beginning. So, you know, to avoid any black edges, it has to start with more than 100 scale. And it goes up to 124%. So basically 20% scale, quite a lot, but this shot really needed it because it needed this intense feeling of something very abnormal is going on. So I don't want to spoil it too much, but you can already see what's going on. So especially in the next shot, which will be the last shot that I used Essential Motion on, this one, and it's a wide shot. And it's actually not a single shot, this is a composite shot, because safety. So as you will see, this is the composite, and you know, we have shot him swinging the axe without the students on the other side. So it had to be done on a tripod. Even though it's a very short clip, let me see how long it is. It's basically 20 frames long, only 20 frames. But if you would make this shot static, like it was shot, it wouldn't feel right. It was very important for that reason to introduce that wiggle, to introduce that zooming, to introduce that movement in that shot for those 20 frames. And that's it. You would probably suspect that those zooming shots were done with Essential Motion, but no, those were actually done with a transfocal lens. We're very proud of these shots at the end. But I wanted to show you this short film because in this case I used those effects not really to make them feel as effects, but rather to evoke emotions, the feeling of belonging to those shots that without those wiggles wouldn't feel like they belong there. And remember, you can get your own copy of those 40 presets in Pay What You Can model, so basically you can get them for free if you want to. And I am actually working on the new release, at least an update to Ultimate presets, and it might introduce an update to Essential Motion as well. So stick around, subscribe, and see you next time.